Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. This podcast is for and about women of colour and our relationship with nature. Hosted by me, Sheree Mack. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast is committed to exploring the experiences of women of colour with Mother Nature. We want to provide spaces where the hidden voices in the environmental and conservation conversations can explore their relationship with the natural world. Inspired by our time spent outdoors, we amplify the voices of women of colour, our stories, our conversations, interviews, photography, writing, and artwork. We'll be exploring our legacies, histories, and memories which have had an influence and effect upon how we perceive ourselves within the natural world and within the environmental and climate justice movements. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast is a space for women, feminine, and non-binary people who are Black, Indigenous, people of colour to explore their relationship with nature. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. I'm your host, Dr Sheree Mack, and I'm so pleased to be back with you now. And where to begin? Let's just start with, I've managed to keep with the 2 weeks of dropping an episode. So, yay! I've been on a roller coaster since the last 2 weeks. Let's just talk about this episode because there's wisdom to be gained from this, and be in the process. It's okay to be in the process. And this is the final message from Sile Sibanda, who is our guest in this episode. Sile and myself were talking at the beginning of this year, February. I think it was February. And when I saw it was February and we're now near, mid-June, I was beating myself up about it. And then when I got into the editing of the show, I just stopped and thought, no, I say to the guests, well, I say to anyone who I'm with or working with or being with, all in good time. I say it, maybe it's on autopilot now, but it's so landed with me. Today, when I come to editing the episode with Sile, and we do talk about time. Oh, yeah, we do talk about time and the concept of time and how it was a construct, is a construct, continues to be a construct. Why I'm talking about time now is that I needed to re-engage with this conversation now, in this moment, in this time. I needed to experience this conversation, this dialogue, what we talked about now, as a reminder, as a re-engagement with what we shared, not just the concept of time, but then also how things are circular and come with the cycles and the seasons, and so much wisdom and guidance we can get from nature that is there within nature, if only we just pay attention, that we're open, that we're out there, where we don't even have to be out there. We can do it from the window, man, just observing and interacting. So all in good time is, okay, yeah, February, we recorded it, but I needed this also June in the future. It's like, it's that wisdom from a former self, from former conversations, from former learning that we forget. But it's still in there, it's still in our bodies, it's still collecting. This feeds into my concept that I've been developing for a number of years now, and which I shared in an episode on the podcast about palimpsest, and how February me was in this conversation with Sile. Yeah, it was a beautiful conversation around creativity and the flow and the energy, and how we met through the Black Nature in Residence conversation, and it was flowing. The conversation was flowing then in February, and that energy has flowed right up to now into June, when I've been editing, and I know it's going to flow beyond June now. It's going to flow beyond now into the future, just because it's stuff that we need. For me, I feel I need to keep circling back to, just like the seasons. Just like a spiral. Again, I was talking about these patterns in nature, that work in nature, that can guide us. I know I'm just rambling here, but it's just, I've just finished editing this, so it's all still fresh, and it's all still filling me with that childlike wonder. And that's something that we also touch upon in here, that idea of the practice of play, and how as we grow older, as we become adults and we take on responsibilities and we have to become successful, and we talk about that, we lose that contact with the childlike wonder, and we also get that disconnection from nature, and how getting back there, finding ways back there, practices back there to our child within, to that connection with nature is, for me, it's a never-ending journey, and it's a process, and it's a practice, and it's a one that I prioritize, which brings me joy, a lot of joy. But it's also there to help me work through, as we talk in this episode, Sile does mention it, anxiety or stresses. So I'm really, really pleased. If you haven't guessed, I'm really pleased to be bringing you this episode. And I appreciate all the guests that do give their time and share so openly and vulnerably about their lives, their practice, their thinking, their feeling, where they're at, where they're going, where they've been. And I know Earthsea Love would be nothing without them. So I am sharing my thanks with all the guests that I've had conversations with in the past, who I'm editing now and will be out this season, and then hopefully, also into further seasons. But before I wind up this intro, I'd just like to say my deepest thanks also to you who are listening to this. And in this episode, you might say, oh yes, tell our listeners and viewers. Well, we've had that conversation already. We're not on YouTube at this time. And that's okay. And did you notice I said time there? Time. We're going to be picking up this concept of time. But for now, let's just take this time to stop all the chatter in our heads or in our bodies, and let's just be open. Let's have some active listening here to this episode of the Earthsea Love podcast. Thanks again. Until next time. Bye for now. I just love being off the clock. Something that I'm reading recently is around colonial time and how it was the colonialists that created the clock and the hours and the minutes and the seconds and the days and the months because they already existed, but it was by indigenous practices of looking at the moon and the sun and the stars.
Yes.
And it was to have that economic efficiency and productivity. Like, we want you to be working for so many hours and get, that sort of thing. And that's how it came into being. And just reading about that recently, it's just like, because we take time as a given, don't we?
Do.
But really, it's a construct. We see it as linear, or we experience it as linear, or supposed to, but we don't, though, do we? We're here in the present, right? But we're ruminating about the past. We're thinking or planning for the future. So you're with me, right? You're with me.
I understand. For me, with that concept, I've been trying to look at time as, or my calendar, or my months as circular, and trying to live with the seasons. So for me, my new year begins in spring, not January. So I've been really trying to see how does that work in my life, and really like reading around that. But please tell me the book you're reading. I'd love to
It isn't a
incorporate.
book. Well, I'll see if it is a book. One's been recommended, but it was Rashida Phillips or something. I think her name is Rashida Phillips. But I'll send you the links because it was on oh, I can't remember this magazine. But then I was on a loop because she's done a series of different ones about them and looking at it coming at it from different angles. I will make a note of that to send you it because this is what I do. I do this reading of stuff. And then for it to land with me or to cement and start taking
Mm,
blooms and blossom and seed, then I share it, and in the sharing it makes more sense. Do you know what I'm saying? So like
yes.
I've been talking about creative fugitivity and about what if we were to linger in the flight of, we're thinking about running away and like escape, but like escape isn't real, it's escaping. If we were thinking more about that process and if we were lingering to be present and be aware and to take in our surroundings and live and have joy, what would that feel like? What would that be like if we weren't thinking about getting to that destination of freedom? Maybe the process and the practice is the freedom.
Ooh, I love that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, that is deep. I like it.
It's all right. So this is what I'm bringing to the conversation, and this is where I am at because this week this week and next week I'm taking a creative retreat, a creative break, so I can focus on my own creativity and get some stuff read and written and not be disturbed by the outside world. So I'm coming to this conversation with my pot being filled up, all right? So,
I like it. I like it.
but I'm so pleased to have this conversation with you, Sile, because I'm just really okay, listeners, viewers. Okay, we've started, but I fell in love with your energy and vibe. Yeah, when we met through shortlisting interview for the Black Nature in Residence program, I fell in love with your joy and your spirit and the light that you bring. And then you invited, well, yeah. So I'm skipping ahead. I'm skipping ahead. So welcome, Sheila. Thank you
Thank
for agreeing to be part of the Earthly Love podcast. All right. And as I say, I'm excited to be talking to you. And let's just get you situated. Where in this world are you calling, zooming in from? And can you see any nature? I can see some stuff behind you, but I'm not sure if that's artificial or not.
It is, and I will explain why. So I am right now in my studio in Sheffield. It's called Block Studios. It's a space where different creatives with different disciplines, we all come together and we basically have a space. So I share my space with other creatives who are mainly doing ceramicist and pottery. I've got a little corner. I love nature and I love plants. But one thing about me is I'm not in this space a lot. So
Mhm.
if I have any real plants in here, when I come back after a couple of days, they're not, I don't look after them. So I don't want to put any plant through that. So that's why I have, unfortunately, artificial ones with me.
Yeah.
But in terms of like outside of the building, there is a garden section, so a section that has beautiful plants. I'll show you afterwards, that if I want to read or if it's sunny like it is today, I can just go outside and just be surrounded by this beautiful space within the city centre, which doesn't have that much nature.
Oh, that is gorgeous. And I totally take your vibe. I mean, I'm at home at the moment and I have real plants here, but I also have artificial vines draped around my window on shelves, and in my bedroom, it's almost like a canopy of them, you know, because I just cannot get enough green, and it does lift my spirit, even though I have real ones, but even the artificial ones bring something to my soul. So I relate to
Thank
that. And I want to know, when you're saying this is your creative space, but you don't get there as often as you want, or I want to know what's keeping you from your creativity. Tell the viewers and the listeners what you're doing in your day to day, which might be creative as well, but might not be. But what is keeping you from your flow of creativity?
Great question. Because I have different jobs. So one part of my job is working in radio, and so with that, I have to go to the station that I work in, the BBC station I work in, and so then I spend some of my time there. And then other times I'm in schools, so I do different writing workshops in schools. So I'll spend my mornings or afternoons in schools as well. So my time is dotted around. So I hardly get as much time to come here, but when I do, I'm here for hours. I am here for absolute hours because I just feel like it's a little cocoon. And I've got my books here. I've got, loads of notebooks, and then I've got my headphones as well. I put on
Mm.
some good music and I just keep writing. But
Oh,
yeah,
right. Cool. Cool. Because I was going to ask, what is your creative practice? Because it might not be just one genre, it might be multiple. But you said so you write in anything else that you're up to when you get into your creative flow.
when I was young, my mum used to get me coloring books, and she used to get me like felt tips or like paint. And I used to do that. And then I fell out of it. But then as I've grown older, and there's a lot of things in my head, I find that just taking some paint and just coloring in some pictures, it just removes all those thoughts away from me, and I'm able to just be in the moment. And if I'm going through any anxiety, because being freelance, sometimes you don't know when the next thing is coming, you're
Yeah.
up and down. So this really allows me just to calm down. So I do,
Mm.
do a bit of like doing those coloring books. Another thing is I like making miniature houses with recycled materials. Yeah, that's another hobby of mine. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, if I when I get time, I just collect loads of like recycled materials, and my partner gets different parcels and things. I'm like, don't throw it away. You don't put it in the recycling. I just let me have it and let me see what creative things can I do with it. And I make like little chairs, little rooms, a whole
Oh,
house.
oh
So
my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that, because well, one, it's you're being vulnerable here by sharing these stuff, and I appreciate it, but it really just sings to my heart because it reminds me of stuff I used to enjoy when I was a kid, coloring in. And I remember making because we didn't have money, we were in poverty, so I remember having a big box and making it into a Cindy mobile home. And yeah, we did. I had a Cindy. It wasn't Barbie, it was Cindy because she had bendy legs. And it was a mobile home for Cindy, and we made the table and chair, but it was all out of cardboard, you know? And I just loved that. And we just used to push it around the floor. But that reminds me of that childlike play and wonder. But what also is that it's in my life now, and I'm so pleased to hear that it's still in your life. My gosh, I love paint. I love coloring in still. And I love like each morning I get out of bed and I'll go to the corner of my room, where's my table, and that's my studio in the corner of my bedroom, right? And I'll do my visual journaling, but it is just like it's the paint, it's the mark making, and it's the cutting, and it's the sticking and the collage. And it just gets me in a relaxed, calm, but also joyful space of being to start my day. So I'm
Mm.
so pleased that you're doing it still, because we get these messages like, oh my gosh, you're too old. You're too old for doing these things. And where are you finding the time? You've got more important things to do. But for me,
It's important.
yes, that's why I do it first thing, because all the other stuff comes after that. It's like I'm prioritizing my joy, my play, my childlike sense of wonder. Yeah. So
And that energy, you bring it into your day as well.
don't you
You know,
just?
you do. So, oh, I love that. I might do that in the morning. Oh, that was
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
Well, just sharing what I'm doing. There you go. So I'm so glad also that you're not just following one genre of creativity, because I think we are diverse within ourselves, and we should be, I shouldn't say should, I invite everyone to express themselves in multiple ways, because we are also given that message. If you want to be successful, you must focus on one creative art form. If you want to get your name and be out there, and I'm thinking, yeah, but whose definition of success is it?
Mhm.
Yeah, my success is, whoa, getting out of bed, thank you, still alive, and getting into my corner and do my visual journaling. So it is defining for ourselves our success. So talking about success. Okay, so you also invited me onto your BBC radio show. Do you want to tell people about your radio show, to give it a plug while you're here?
You. So yes, I have a radio show, one on a Friday, which is like an evening one, 7 till 10, and it's across most of Yorkshire. So it encompasses cities like Sheffield, Leeds, York, and now has Lincolnshire and Hull and Humberside area. So it's like a encompassing evening show. And then
Mm.
I've also got one on a Sunday. Sunday is between 2 till 6, and that is mainly in Sheffield, York, and Leeds. And yeah, in those shows, I love having different people on, whether they're creatives, whether they're business, whether it's charities. And all of my shows, the energy is acceptance. If you're listening to the show, I want you to feel like you're accepted, you're part of a community, and it's like you can tune in for the first time and feel like you've been here before, and you can keep coming back week to week,
Mm.
and feel like you're part of for the next 3 to 4 hours, you're part of a community where people accept who you are
Mm.
and really good music, have good chats. So yes, those are my shows.
I love that. I love those words that you use there, community and also acceptance. Because I don't know. I think it's the last few years. I'm coming around to community more. I mean,
Mm.
I've always been for and by community. I have. But I don't know, I've always had this individual leadership hat on. It's like, oh my gosh, I am here to help you and only I can help you. Yeah, recognize, that kind of energy mentality. And it's like, get a grip, Sheree. The hell do you think you are? Community is, and again, I'm going back to that circle. It's like we're in this circle together. Nobody's a leader. Nobody has more power or say than anyone else in that circle. And to recognize that that's where my power comes from, by being in community with others, you
Yeah.
know. And so I so love that you're saying that you are creating community, or allowing communities to tap in, or because we are living in that individualistic society, and like, I'm all right, Jack. I've got
You have the energy of the leader, because I feel like there'll be sometimes when people are lost and they go, "What should I do?" And you're the person who'll be like, "You know what? Try this.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
try
yeah.
that." I love that energy. I really do. We need
Mm,
that. We need a lot more of that energy, especially
mm,
within women, because a lot of my friends are like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Should I go ahead and should I, be a leader?" And I'm like, "Go for it. Go for it."
mm,
You
mm.
always felt like that. Have you always had the energy of, I know who I am. Duh,
Yeah.
let's go.
Um, that's an interest. Who's interviewing each other here? But that's interesting. I think I've had to go alone and do a lot of things and trailblaze. Um, and I'm in the process. Maybe I'm getting older. Maybe it is. But more in the process of letting that go. And I'm more of a process of active listening. I'm also training, doing some counseling skills. Because I've always believed that we have the answers within ourselves. And we just need maybe the right questions or the right situations or the right prodding to bring them out. Yeah. So I'm much more of that now, in the case of like, you need to listen to me and this is what you need to do, of thinking like, I'm listening to you, and then offering suggestions from what someone's telling me, and like, so they come to their own decisions and their own actions and own practices, and just like being in community with them and going, yes. And that makes me feel so much better than, I'm the leader. Oh, look at me, I'm smashing, I'm great. I'm in control. Yeah, I think it is letting go of control more. That's what it is. I've just let go of control more, and be at peace with that.
Mm.
Be at peace with that. But yeah, enough about me. Now, nature. Sea Love podcast is all about nature. And as I say, we met through the Black Nature in Residence application process, shortlisting and interviewing. So do you want to share about your connection with nature and also your ideas that you brought to the table?
So my connection with nature starts very young. I grew up most part of my childhood, quite a large part of my childhood. I grew up in Zimbabwe, and in my grandma's farm, literally in the village, no electricity, no running water from the tap. If you wanted water, there was a well that we had to go to around 20 to 30 minutes away, and you had to like pump. It was a workout to get your water. So that's, I grew up around, my grandma had quite a large farming space, and she used to, all the food she grew herself. So, we lived according to the seasons. Spring you plant, and then, summer is when, everything is growing. When it comes to autumn, you harvest, and then winter you store. So, I was surrounded by those cycles. Um, me and my cousins, there was a tree just outside of her farm, a tree that we kind of made our own, and we would put rocks around it to say, okay, this is my portion of my house, this is your portion of the house, this is the kitchen, and we would just play with the earth, making food from mud and leaves. Also, close to my grandma's farm, there was a river, and most of the year it was dry. So we just go in there and just sit by the riverbed. And when the sun was hot, the trees were kind of like would cover bits of the riverbed, and we'll just be sat there relaxing and just being. Nature was around me when I was young.
Mm,
Grew up going to the city, and that started to disappear.
mm,
And then when I came to the UK, again, very much city, and then focused on succeed, work, money, all that
mm,
jazz. And
mm,
it wasn't until 2009, 2018, 19, when I began to develop that relationship again with
mm,
nature here in the UK.
mm,
And it was due to my now partner. We used to go for walks around the Peak District. And it's just like that child came back, that joy that I felt as a child came back. We'd go for walks and I'd be, saying, oh, look at that tree, let's go up here, let's play with this.
Mm.
And so now, yeah, that's where I am now with nature, reconnecting with it again as an adult.
Mm.
Um, what was the other question? Oh, how we met. Okay, so part of the what I'd put across to that commission. First of all, thank you so much for that. It was that project to me came at a time when I needed it. I was in a full-time job and I just wanted to, connect, find a way to connect to nature again and a reason to, because I'd be doing it at bits and pieces. And the project that you guys did gave me that push to do it a bit more. What I put in was to explore femininity was one of the aspects, exploring femininity in nature.
Mm.
Because I'd been on this journey of what does it mean to be a woman? What does femininity mean in my life? And doing a lot of research, it was, femininity with freedom and femininity in a culture. But I was like, no, for me, there's something more to that. I want to explore, what does Mother Nature mean? We say Mother Nature, we say the earth is a mother. So the earth has this feminine energy. And so I want to tap into that. How can I explore that? And okay, this being in nature, trees give, there's a lot of birthing that happens, there's a lot of giving, there's a lot of nurturing that happens in nature. And that's what I wanted to explore. I wanted to have conversations with women out in nature about what is their idea of this, of femininity. What does it mean to you? Is it a nurturing thing? Is it an energy thing? So that's what I wanted to do as well as exploring belonging.
Mm.
Because a lot of, my mom, I'd be like, oh, let's go out into the Peak District, da, da, da. She didn't feel like she belonged here, even though she also grew up in the countryside in Zimbabwe, she felt like she belonged in the countryside there. But here, she didn't feel like that. And also, when I used to go on walks with my partner, he's of Indonesian heritage and I'm of African heritage. We wouldn't hardly see anyone that looked like us on these walks. We really don't see anyone that looked like us on these walks. And when we did, it was like, oh my God, okay, hi, you, hey, what are you doing here? No way, So I also wanted to explore that as well, belonging in nature. How do people of Black heritage feel like they belong in nature? If they don't, why do they feel like they don't belong in nature?
Mm.
And I found groups of women to challenge that and say, no, no, we belong in the countryside. We belong in these spaces too. And I was going to have conversations with them as well
Mm.
as people that don't feel like they belong.
Oh, lovely. I mean, it's really good to hear it again and your enthusiasm and energy around it. And it is a case of Mother Nature and belonging. Obviously, there's that disconnection that you've had, and that is from that move from Zimbabwe to the UK. And also, it's also that disconnection from our ancestral connection with the landscape, which being born here, I have been missing and trying to reconnect with, or trying to discover. And I don't know if I can say rediscover, because there's so many silences and hidden histories within my family, and I mean there are so many families of the global majority that we don't, I don't know, it is a case of like we come and we focus on the education, and because that's the culture that we come in and that's what we're getting fed. You must, to be successful, as we've said already, focus, no distractions. But it's a case of like realizing now that actually for me that nature connection is it's my supporting mechanism to be moving and functioning within this system. It's the case of like, if I didn't have nature, then I'd be on my knees going through this right system structure. But it was good because you said there
Yeah.
about not seeing anyone that looked like you, and then the women saying, no, we do belong there. And it's not a case of like it's an either or thinking, it's and slash both. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure if you've been following the media recently, but that there is that recent report that's come out from the Wildlife and Country something, which is about 80 charities and networks that have said, putting in this report to Parliament, that the countryside, the British countryside, is racist. Have you heard about that in the media?
I've heard, yes, I've heard of the reports, and I've seen, I've been reading around it for work,
Mm,
and yeah, saying that, some people don't feel like they've experienced racism with
mm,
when they've been in the countryside.
mm,
Um,
mm.
but what did you think of it?
Well, that's funny because somebody from BBC Radio Live 5, whatever that is, was trying to get one of the creatives involved on a Five Live show, but he couldn't do it. So he passed them on to me, and I said, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'll chat to them." But as you know yourself, they do ring up beforehand and gauge what you're going to say and ask you questions, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, okay, then we'll get back to you. We might be in touch between these hours." They didn't get back, obviously. But what I was saying is that it's not an either. Oh, as I've just said, it's and slash both. We've probably all experienced no, and that's a generalization. There's some people that have experienced racism, as you said, out in the countryside, and there's some that haven't. There's some that have barriers to get out of there, and there's some that doesn't. And I think I take issue with the lumping of everything in together, and it's that black and white thinking when it's not. When we all know it's much more nuanced, much more diverse, much more difficult, and it's like, why can't we have more spaces where we can discuss or share these stories? But what happens with these research, it goes out and then we just have the backlash. You have to be on this side of the fence and this side of the fence, and like there's no discussion then, is there? There's no conversation, there's no meeting, there's no. So that's where I stand, because I know I should be writing about it, but I'm not one of those ones that do that knee-jerk reaction and come out and say da, 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 because like then you have to stand by it for the rest of your life.
That's true.
I'm just slow and steady and mulling it over, and something will come out, I know. But I mean, we started Earthly Love and sharing our stories, because we wanted to change the narrative about who is out there enjoying the countryside, have a relationship with nature, because we just didn't see ourselves in the mainstream. But obviously, we see ourselves when we're out there, because do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, it's just saying like, this is our reality and we're sharing it with, yeah, part of it, there was some racism, there's some fear, there's some economics, but we're doing it. We're here, we're being, and
Yeah.
I think that's what we're saying, not just in the countryside. We do it all in all walks of life that we're in. Do you know what I mean? So it's a case of, it's the whole system, isn't there? And that's where they're not looking like racism in the countryside, but there's racism all over as well. Other sections of society or places,
I
Um,
know what you mean. Yes, yes.
yeah, I'm for it if it offers those opportunities to have conversations. What I'm seeing is people being very in their position. And the thing that also, I'm just trying on here, but the thing that also gets me is when there's certain white people who have been public and said like, well, I live in the countryside, I'm rural, and I haven't seen any racism. I don't see racism. Racism doesn't exist here. We've got a local Pakistani who has a shop, and he's really part of the community. He's blended in well and he's fitted in. And they say that, and that's their stance. They see no shift. They don't see anything wrong with that stance or see any way of shifting it, and they'll stay on that stance. Even when they're talking to a black person who's saying, well, this is, I've had this experience of racism in the countryside. And well, that you can't make generalizations like that. This is the white person saying that. And she's I'm not. I'm just sharing my personal
You know,
experience.
it's personal to me. This is what I've gone through.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But denying that experience. So yeah. I mean, I just enjoy having the conversation. And sometimes I realize that some conversations that I have are not going to go anywhere because they're not listening. That's fine. That's fine. Jog on.
That I feel like as long as you've set that perspective is out, so then it stops the polarization of you
Yeah,
either hear
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
can't be you. Let's dive. It's not just black and white. There's
no,
lots
no, 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 no,
of
yeah,
between that we need to explore. So the fact
yeah.
putting those out there, there's going to be somebody like me who isn't here or there who's going to
Mhm.
be like, yeah, I get what Dr. Sheree's saying.
Thank you. But it's also that's not my task either. My task is just to share the story or bring, have you considered this? And then that's it. That's my task. It's done. I can't influence or how people take that on board or how they react to it. That's not my task. And
Mhm.
like for a long time, I was thinking that was my task. I must constantly be proving to you my humanity. Do you know what I mean? Have you done that? I've got to prove to you that I'm respectable, I'm professional, and I'm acceptable. Love me. And like, I don't do that anymore. Not my task. Not my
Mhm.
task. Oh, lovely. All right, then. So the other question is, do you know that we've done a call out for the Black Nature in Residence zine?
Ooh.
Yeah. We put it out on the Identity on Time. Sorry, I'm saying we. Yeah, Identity on Time put it out on their newsletter on Substack. The deadline has been extended to the 15th of March. But yeah, there's a small fee again, so we're accepting anything you want to put in around spring and nature. And also, I'll send you the link to that too. So I'm just going to write down links to time and zine. So yeah,
Yeah.
because we would so welcome your contribution. So let's think about your creativity. How have you been working around your creativity and nature? What are you working on at this moment? Or is it under wraps still and you don't want to talk about it?
Can share a little bit. I have been because I'm a poet as well. I don't think I mentioned that at the start, but in terms of like my creativity that brings in income, it's poetry and radio. So the poetry side, I have been doing writing in nature. So I'd pick a place, I'd go there, and I'd write. I won't have any um intention. Okay, I'm gonna write about this. I'm just gonna get there, and I start by writing about what I'm observing, and then slowly see what story that invokes in me, and see what emotions I'm going through. So that's what I've been doing, and also like taking pictures as well. So I take a picture after I've written. And I'm thinking, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to present this, or is this gonna still be just for me? But yes, and I know in a couple of weeks' time, me, my mom, and my sisters, we are going to there's a waterfall in West Yorkshire that me and my partner went to. And when my mom saw it online, she was like, we need to go there. So me, my mom, and my sisters, we're all gonna go to that waterfall and we're gonna write poetry there.
Oh,
So
wow. Which waterfall is this? Is it High Force or not?
let me have a look on my Google Maps.
And you're all going to write there.
Yes, and we're all gonna be writing something there. So yeah, when my mum saw it, she was like, "Let's go." I was like, "Yeah, let's go." But let's see what creative things can we do there. And my
Oh,
mum
wow.
loves poetry, so let's let's all write a poem when we get there.
Oh, that is awesome. And when you're going to do that, and is that going to be soon or not?
That is going to be at the around the beginning of March.
So still time to submit if you all wanted to submit your poems to the zine.
Yes. Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, I'll send you the details so so it's in your mind, no pressure. But if you wanted to share, if you wanted an outlet, then the zine is there. But I
Thank
love
you.
that you're going together to go see it. And also, it's right in immersion, isn't it? You're immersing yourself in the landscape and seeing what comes. And to do that, you have to be open, don't you? You have to open to your senses, be in your body. But you can only do that if you feel safe and comfortable.
Ooh, that's a good topic. That's a good topic. I want to go into that. Before I do, I found the waterfall. It's in Yorkshire Dales, right at the beginning of it. And the waterfall is called the Valley of Desolation. So the Valley of
Wow,
Waterfall.
what a name! The Valley of Desolation. Oh my gosh, that just brings up. Wow, I've never heard of that one. And it's in the Yorkshire Dales.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyhow, I'm checking time here. So I'm just looking at the time. So I just want to ask you as we wind up here if there's anything you'd like to pass on to our viewers and listeners about your journey or yeah, about your practice so far that you've learned that you know that you're carrying with you as a kernel of wisdom, or even a little what genie in the bottle that you're rubbing that can. So yeah, any words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
I would say this is what I'm going through right now, and I've realized be okay in the process. You know, a lot of the time, you were saying this earlier, we think about the destination, but we hardly ever think about the process, you know, and be okay in the process and trust yourself within that process. I know for me, when I'm writing, there's times when I'm writing and I'm going, oh, this is not good. I don't like this. And oh, this is so bad. And I have to remind myself that no, you know, find that little nugget, find for writing, find that word, find that sentence that brings you joy and expand that. Be okay in the process. And maybe the final thing might not look like what you think, but that's okay. That just shows there's more in you that needs to come out. There's more in you that needs to develop, and just be okay within that and work through it. Going into nature, I understand that safety can be a thing. And for me, safety is what I'm working through. There's times when I want to go out into nature further in, when I want to do my recordings and get some audio things or get some pictures. And sometimes I don't feel as safe. Having somebody go with you is good, is important. Having somebody that you can bring with you and somebody that you can share the joy of going out into nature with. And um, if you don't know where to start by picking the popular places because you might feel safe there. And then slowly, slowly, you know, as you become more knowledgeable and you become more comfortable, you can start to go to those places you're not as comfortable.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So much wisdom there and a reminder there. And that was a process. You talked about the process, but then you broke down a process of actually getting out into nature. So I totally appreciate that. And even if I say I'm an older veteran of being in nature, there's still those times when it is a case of like, I don't want to go there, or I don't feel safe about going there, and like, but I really want to go there. It looks so beautiful, and it's right. It's like, okay, go with someone else, and that helps with the safety and feeling comfortable. But then the flip side, as you said, it means that you're sharing that joy of nature in community with someone else. So I love that. Thank you. That's such a lovely message to leave this episode on. So thank you, Sile, for bringing it. You brought it. And it's been so wonderful to be in communication with you. Thank you so much.
Anna, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm usually on your side, so I'm usually asking questions. So it feels different, and I felt held and I felt comfortable with you. And I really appreciate you for this. And I look forward to seeing the other guests that you have on here. Thank you.